So we have a heat of a semi-final of the Thames Challenge Cup between a fantastic Dutch crew. We'll talk about them down the course. Roeivereeniging, Willem III from the Netherlands, and Moy Boat Club A crew in black and white kit. Now in shot from the boom camera. Thank you very much to Adam Freeman Pask for his expert, witty and erudite commentary. And I now welcome one of Britain's greatest ever oarswomen, Kath Bishop, silver medal, of course, in Athens with Kath Granger in the pair, the Athens Olympics.
Hello.
Gold medal the year before, I think. Anyway,
Correct.
I'll stop talking about you and
Let's watch them.
yeah, let's watch them.
Attention. Go. Get ready, please.
So the Molesey Cup crew at the top of your picture, coached, of course, by Frans Infield. And a lot of shouts for Molesey. And there are some shouts for the Dutch, possibly from the umpires, which I don't know. This Dutch crew have got a lot of juniors in from the 8 that won gold. The Dutch 8 that won gold in Rio at the World Juniors, and that was a fantastic race. They beat the Americans and Germans. Oh, the 7-man of the Dutch 8, Roel van Bronkenhausen, missed a stroke there.
Yeah. There was a lot of tension actually as they were waiting. It felt like there was a lot of shouting, a lot of sort of argy-bargy before even they've got going. But I mean, having said that, it's pretty fierce stuff in that Dutch crew. They've got off to a very strong start.
So both coaches know that this is going to be a closely contested race, and you see the Dutch bellman Jaap de Jong rowing with that very distinctive hat. Jaap de Jong, one of the boys who rowed in the junior 8. He was in the 7 seat that took gold in Rio. He's up in the bows now, and the pace of that Dutch 8 was pretty slow early on. They were 128, 130 for the second 500 in Rio. Then they threw in a 129 and 124, just moved through to take the first place with a charge in the last 500. So they're not quick starters, and you would expect Molesey might have looked at that split pattern, Kath, and done something to adapt to it in the course.
It certainly looked like the Dutch were scrapping to get off quick, you know, hence the mistake from the 7-man, and even we're sort of still seeing a few slightly scuffed finishes coming off. So, I mean, I think they're getting more comfortable as the rate comes down, but, I mean, Molesey are now settling into a faster pace at this point, transitioning out. So I think there's a lot of tension in the Dutch crew to try and maybe scrap out and get a better start that didn't work for them.
Molesey, of course, had to change their crew just before this regatta. Chris Lawrie, who was in that British quad that took gold in Rio, was injured, and a little bit of controversy. They took in Rufus Biggs, his colleague from Sir William Borlase, who was entered here in the visitors' 4. And he's now gone into the stroke of the Molesey boat, and they are moving out to what seems like a pretty commanding lead. The Dutch do have a good second half, so the race is not done and dusted. Dutch on the left of your screen, Molesey on the right.
You never ride off Dutch crew. They're traditionally always strong finishers, and how they manage to do that, the women and the men at Olympic level and at club level, they have something that they are always able to finish a race, but it is looking a much more secure rhythm, a much more efficient, powerful ratio in that Molesey boat. You can hear that the rhythm of the oars just looks a bit more convincing to me in that Molesey crew at the moment.
It is. So Molesey in black and white. If you've been watching the presentation on BT Sport, you'll know that club very well by now. 2 of the men in the British 4 for the Rio Olympics, Mo Speehy and George Nash from Molesey. But one man from that crew who rows for Leander, Alex Gregory, I bet he's watching YouTube at the moment and the training camp up in Silveretta, because his little brother is Alistair Gregory, is rowing in the Molesey 8. You can't see him on shot. He's the 7 seat, which means he's 1 seat behind the stroke man who's facing the cocks. But if you're watching it, Alex, your little brother's doing fine at the moment, isn't he?
Looking great, and of course they also have incredible experience in the cocks. Henry Fieldman, who's been in the squad now for a number of years and has got huge experience to bring the best out of them.
I know, he was going head-to-head with Phelan Hill, and I kind of think he thought Jürgen Grobler was just going to go with Phelan, so he decided he would do something else, but he's such a great cox. I think he did cox the British 8 to a victory in 2015 at the Roeivereeniging World Cup. And he's a fantastic guy, so competitive for the cox's seat. And I know Phelan Hill, if he's watching this race up in Silveretta, would wish him all the best. There's a shot of Henry Fieldman. We're zooming in. And Franz Infield, the coach of Molesey, said it's been fantastic to have such an experienced guy in the stern. And he talks about a synergy, about the way they both see the rowing stroke and how the crew's developed over the past 2 or 3 weeks.
I know that Henry does a lot of work bringing on other coxes, helping other crews, helping out other coxes, because sometimes it's quite lonely as a cox. Who is there, who's going to, and everyone's focusing on the rowers, on the athletes, on the technique. But it's so important to put time in and to really invest into all of the coxes so that they can make their difference.
So there we see, well, the bowman on the right of your picture, Sam Tuck, the lightweight. He was in the stroke seat about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They did some races at Molesey against Westminster School. Josh Butler took the school up there and decided to change the order, put someone a little bit more meaty in the stroke seat, get a bit more power-based rhythm. And then when they raced against Westminster School again, they were about a length and a half quicker than them. So seems to have done the trick. And Molesey have really made a statement against this very strong crew from the Netherlands.
They have. They look dominant. They look very strong. It's a real power rhythm that's working in this kind of rough, blustery day for them. They had great experience earlier in the season, didn't they, winning at Moley Regatta in the Senior 8. So there's good confidence, good experience within the crew at different levels.
And just had confirmation on Twitter that Alex Gregory, the bowman from the British 4, is watching his little brother. That's him in the 7th seat. Look at the cox, count the stroke, and then the guy behind the stroke, that is Ali Gregory. We hope you're having a good training camp. Alex, you're so strong, as your coach Jürgen Grobler would say. Well, perhaps you'd say that about your brother Ali today, if Molesey stay in that 1st seat. They look to be dominating this semi-final of the Thames Cup against the junior gold medalists and junior silver medalists from the previous year in Hamburg, actually, some of them.
They're still attacking it in that Dutch crew. They're still fighting. You can see them still trying to raise their game. They're having a look, 7-man looking. Can we do something? Can we still attack? It's hard to see that they can overturn Molesey, who seems so dominant.
Well, their coach, Willem van der Wit, he's a super guy. He's the builder of the crew, the architect of the crew. Sits and just puts them in the various places. Ronald Florin, who of course got Olympic gold in the double sculls in Seoul with Nico Rinks. But it's Molesey coming up, and they're about 20 strokes, I guess, from the finish now, Kat.
Yeah, be a great feeling. They've got they can enjoy the cheers from the grandstands, knowing that they've done what they need to do today. And I think they've still got something in hand, some gears that haven't been tested today that they will need tomorrow.
Okay, so Molesey can afford to maybe ease off just a little bit. The traditional sprint from the guys from William III, the Netherlands crew. It's not going to be enough today. They took junior gold with the sprint in Rio Juniors a year ago. They're not going to get the semi-final of the Thames Cup today. It's a very strong Molesey Boat Club crew, isn't it? And, well, we see a shot of them as they paddle away from the finish. Henry Fieldman, so calm, cool and collected, as you said, Kath, in the cox's seat. What an asset to have for a club crew in an event like this.
Yeah, then they'll need to regroup and make sure they've got another level to go to tomorrow. Very exciting for them.
So I think Ali Gregory's too cool to give his brother a wave, isn't he? Talk us through. There's the start, Kath. How did you see this race?
We saw the mistakes from the start in the Dutch crew. Very sort of scrappy. It was pretty, you know, they didn't lose that much ground at the beginning, but they didn't set themselves up to get into a good rhythm. Whereas Molesey had a much more secure start that enabled them to easily get out to length and find that rhythm, where the Dutch were still scrapping, and it never felt like they really settled into the comfortable rhythm that is what we typically think we'll see when we watch a Dutch crew. So I think not their best today, I would say, but a fantastic dominant row from Molesey.
The Dutch should be used to tricky conditions. You get a vicious crosswind on the course in Rio, very small choppy waves, and just seeing on social media a little tweet from Mo Sabihi, the British men's team captain, and on for gold in Rio in the men's 4, yes, and about 20 exclamation marks at Molesey Boat Club, smashed it onto the next. So